All right, this is part 4 of section 2.6. I was saying in the last video the absolute value of 5 is 5, and then plus 8 equals 13. So 13 equals 13. So we know that x equals -1 is one of our solutions. Now we need to go back and check 3 over 2. Okay, so we're going to have 1 minus 4 times 3 over 2 plus 8 equals 13. 2 get cancel here, and I'm left with a 2. So 1 minus 2 times 3 plus 8 equals 13. 1 minus 6 plus 8 equals 13. That will be a -5. Plus 8 equals 13. Absolute value of -5 is 5 plus 8 is 13. So 13 equals 13, and x equals 3 over 2 is another one of our answers. Okay, now we've got an expression on this side. Now notice the absolute value is already isolated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 4x plus 3 equal to the positive version of this over here, or 4x plus 3 equal to the negative version of the entire thing. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this one real quick. So this one over here is going to be -3 plus x. Now we'll just solve each one of them. So I'm going to add x to both sides over here. So I'll get 5x plus 3 equals 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. So 5x equals 0. Divide both sides by 5, so x equals 0. Come back over here, I'm going to subtract x, so that'll be 3x is equal to, plus 3. -3, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, so 3x equals -6. Divide both sides by 3, x equals, well, that's going to be -2. Now when you plug these both in, they both come out to be true solutions. So both of these are your answers. Okay, now looking at this one, the first thing I would do is I would move the -2 over. So I would add 2 to both sides. So 6, absolute value of 10x minus 3 is equal to, well, that's just going to be 0 on this side. Okay, now if I've got an expression that is equal to 0, like we do here, we should have one solution. Now, the one that we just did here, this was equal to a positive number, and we had, 2 solutions. So we were actually looking at this one right here for that, for this example. But the one we're on right now is equal to 0, so I should have one solution. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, now I should have waited until I did this right here. Now when your absolute value is isolated and is equal to 0, so we should have said at this point, hey, it's equal to 0, I should have one answer. The reason is I can't have a positive and a negative 0 because 0 is neutral. So all I have is really 10x minus 3 is equal to 0. And then we're going to solve for x, so add the 3 to both sides. So 10x is equal to 3. Divide by 10. So x equals 3 over 10. And we'll go ahead and check this one. 6, absolute value of 10x, our x is 3 over 10, minus 3 minus 2 equals -2. Okay, so 10s will cancel, and I have 6 3 minus 3 minus 2 equals negative 2. Well, this is going to be 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. 0 times anything is 0. So this whole thing gets knocked out. And I'm left with negative 2 is equal to negative 2. And so that means that 3 over 10 is my final answer for this one. Okay, look at this one. We'll run through the same thing. We are going to try to isolate the absolute value, which means first thing I'm going to do is subtract 18 from both sides. And divide by this 6. So that's negative 3. Now I'm going to stop right there. Notice I have an absolute value sign over, or absolute value expression over here, which we know is always positive. I have a negative sign over here. And we said, when is a positive equal to a negative? Never. Now we can go back to this over here and see that, well, if c is less than 0 or if it's equal to a negative number, it's going to have no solutions. So we can stop right here and say no solution. Now if you were on a test and you kept working this is what you would come out with. So get rid of all that. We would separate it into 2. Oh, that should be positive over there. And we would solve as normal. So subtract 9, and I'm just going to go across. So 5x equals, this would be negative 12. And over here we would have negative 6. So we would have x is equal to negative 12 over 5. Over here we'd have negative 6 over 5. Now when we would go to check it, that's when we'd run into the problems. So 5, let's do the negative 6 over 5 plus 9 plus 18 equals 0. 5's cancel out, and I have 6. Negative 6 plus 9, absolute value of that, plus 18 equal to 0. Well, this is going to be 6. This is going to be 3. Now I've got an 18 plus an 18 equal to 0, which I know that 18 plus 18 is not going to be equal to 0. So this one doesn't work. And you would do the same thing for negative 12 over 5, which means we would really just replace all our 6's. Let me do that real quick. This would be 5, this would be 12. The 5's will cancel. Hey, there's our 12. Okay, and then we have, let's see, negative 12 plus, oh, I shouldn't have gotten rid of that thing. 9, that's negative 3 again. Oh, you run into the same problem. 18, because you'd have absolute value of 3 is, or negative 3 is 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 18 is definitely not 0, so this one doesn't work as well. So the two solutions that you do come up with, once you check them, neither one is going to work, and then you can say, hey, no solution. But if you notice that this right here, you have an absolute value equal to a negative, you can stop right there and say, hey, that can never happen, so no solution. And then let's look at when you run into 2 of these on both sides. Now what you would do is this right here. You would go ahead and set it up as 1 positive or 1 negative. And then, and then solve for both of them. Okay, so I'm going to write one more line down. It's going to be negative 4x minus 9. So I would add 1. Actually, what I would do first is actually, I'd probably subtract the 2x. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, so negative 1 is equal to, this is 2x plus 9. Negative 1 is equal to negative 6x minus 9. I'm going to subtract 9. So this becomes negative 10 is equal to 2x. I'll go ahead and solve this one. Divide by 2x is equal to negative 5. Over here I'm going to add 9, so this would be 8. Divide by negative 6, so I get a negative 8 over 6, which if I take a 2 out, that would be 4 over 3 equals x. And we would plug both of these back into our original equation. And let's do that real quick. Okay, we'll check negative 4 thirds. So 2 times negative 4 thirds minus 1 is equal to okay, let's see. Looks like we've got negative 8 over 3. I'm going to change this 1 to a 3 over 3. Looks like we've got negative 4 times 4 is 16 over 3 plus 9 over 1. I need to multiply that times a 3 over 3. Let's see, we've got negative 8 and negative 3. So negative 11 over 3 is equal to a negative 16 over 3 plus 9 times 3, 27 over 3. Over here we have 11 over 3. Over here, 27 minus 16, that is 11 over 3. Okay, so I've got 11 over 3. Absolute value of 11 over 3 is 11 over 3. Hey, that checks out, so this one works. Go back and check the negative 5. Okay, this will be negative 10 minus 1. This will be negative 20 plus 9. This will be negative 11. Negative 20 plus 9. This will be negative 11. Okay, 11 equals 11. So that means x equals negative 5 is also one of our answers.